So,
hello, dear future founders. Today, you watch another episode of the project framework, where with very valuable guests, each time we decipher one of the letter of the acronym project. And thus, we help you build a very robust foundation and switch from idea to business in a very meaningful and resourceful way. So today, my guest is Günes Seyfarth. They will talk about elevator pitch, the E in the project, and I'm sure that he will give a very interesting twist to it, and we will take a look into it with a pinch of salt. But first things first, I will let you introduce yourself. Who are you and what do you do?
Usually if you ask people what I'm doing, I'm a doer. So what I'm interested in is I always want to know if something that I have theoretical in my mind is working on a practical side. So whatever it is, if it's a business idea, a voluntary idea or whatever, I always want to make it real, make it happen and see if this was correct in my mind. When you have an idea, then it sounds all so good and so round. But then you go into the practical side and then you have problems. To become successful, you have to be trained to go over many problems and to overcome these. And so what I'm doing is, my coach always says I'm a truffle pick. So I'm always going there where my nose is headed. And when I was pregnant, I founded kindergartens. They are called Karl und Liesel in Untergiesing in Munich. And now there are 108 kids from 1 till 11 years old. Afterwards, I co-founded Mummy Kreisel with Kleiderkreisel together. We did a joint venture and I achieved that with social media and influencer corporations. Yeah, and after that, I did many other things. Now I have a startup, a food startup. We are doing organic snacks for kids that are very pure. They just consist of 2 fruits, organic fruits and nothing more, and real fruits, right? Like we're real humans, real life, no fake. It's called Fruitivores.de. And then I have also an education startup. It's called Next Entrepreneurs, where we try to bring entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial thinking and doing into kids' minds from 12 to 18 years old. So this is what we do. And apart from this, I'm doing a lot of voluntary stuff because I feel like giving is the best getting. So the more you give, the more you get. And so I'm engaging myself more in education and also more in food waste, against food waste.
The amount of different activities that you have just mentioned is overwhelming. It's very admiring how you manage to juggle so many different topics.
Many situations in my life brought me to this. It's one of the most important ones is my brother, I would say. He has Down syndrome, trisomy 21. And when I was 18, about 18, doctors say he would die in 1 year. And that was one of the most challenging times in my young life. But he didn't die and he still lives and lives quite well. So that was a misinterpretation from the doctors, but we didn't know that at that time. So there are always 2 things that drives me in my life. One thing is, if you do it or if you don't do it, would anybody die from it? You or someone else? And if there's like, no one would die, so you could do something that it's not in your logic, but just try it, give it a try, then I'm doing it. And the second thing is, if you would die tomorrow, would you say you had a life full of purpose and impact? And this is what drives me a lot. Also, that when I sleep less or when I don't know, do less sports or whatever I don't do then because I do my projects, then I always say, yeah, but if I would die tomorrow, I would know under the line, the result was a great life. So this is what drives me so in general. But for me, all my projects are very logical, I have to say. I got a mother and kids topics were important for me. So that's how the kindergarten came. That's how Mummy Kreisel came. Then after the kindergartens, it was logical to think about school system, what happens. I was always a person who was interested in society. So what makes the school system with our society? So this is then the next point to my new initiative, the Plan for Germany, where I want to make a holistic picture of how Germany could be in 20 years if we could found it as a startup. When I founded the kindergartens, I saw that kids, and like every kid, really every kid, and so it means every human, comes to the world with the will of growing, and the will of growing multidimensional. This is the most important word in this case. That means if we come into the world, usually, and this relates to the elevator pitch, investors will say, focus on one thing. I give you my money, but you have to focus on one thing. And I was always like, yeah, but don't drive me. I'm a mother, I'm a startupper, I'm a human, I'm a lover, I'm so much more a nature lover, whatever. So I see a lot of problems and I see a lot of solutions. And so why should I give my lifetime just for one thing? If I can do more, perhaps it takes a little bit more time, but it's more fulfilling for me. And so I tried to turn it around and showed them, yes, it can be that I'm not focusing on one thing at a time, but my team is focusing on this thing. So it's different. And I saw that if kids grow in the year from 1 to 3, I had the chance to see 300-400 kids, just observing them. And when I saw how they live and how they get better and grow, and then it's always, they look for someone and something that's better than they are. They understand that mistakes are part of their development, because if a kid would think as we think as an adult, then they would never start walking, because they would stop after 2 steps and say, I can't do that, I make mistakes. So when you understand that in our nature, in our biology is that we do mistakes and we always try to be a better version of ourselves, then perhaps you understand that it's all within you. It's all solutions. You are equipped from nature with a brain and a heart and the backbone. And so you have everything. You have courage, you have cleverness, and you have passion. And that's what you need for all the project. So I hope that answered a little bit.
Now that we talk to future founders, usually the first step is very scary. We need a bit of confidence, we need a bit of push, we need someone to validate our thinking. When you look back, what was your first conscious entrepreneurial step?
It was the founding the kindergarten in April. It was in April. I will never forget. I was at a bank and I had to sign for a loan of 150,000 euros. And I knew that if this breaks, then I have to pay that back. And I was like getting tense. And then the woman of the bank said, Mrs. Seyfarth, you never thought that you had to have to sign such a big amount for this hobby. And I was like, yes. And if I had knew that at the beginning, I never had started, never. It was just because I didn't knew that. So it's so good that sometimes you don't know things, you don't know the problems that will happen. But, and this is something that I always tell the founders, a business plan. And I'm not just telling about the verbal side, the what you write and what sounds great, but it's more the calculations. This is your homework time. So in that case, you can really rethink again and again different scenarios where you say, what happens if my clients buy less, more, the production gets higher in the costs or whatever increases. So there you have your playground where you can prepare yourself for everything. And believe me one thing, if you feel fear in yourself, then you have a lack of information. If you feel that you don't know your next steps, then you didn't think and planned it well. But fear is a good sign, I feel that way, because it shows you there is a lack of information somewhere. So identify what is the lack of information and fill it with knowledge.
You consult a lot of startups. In your view, what is the thing that they mostly struggle with?
I have to say that I started consulting the startup with marketing services because I thought always you focus as a founder on your business, and sometimes if you're not the marketing person, then you forget the visibility. But more and more, I saw that it's about finance. Mm-hmm. It's always about finance. I have to say that my biggest learning was I would never again start with a business without knowing how to get it paid. And get it paid doesn't mean always selling something, a service or a product. It could be also having a foundation and getting some money of European Union or other foundations or donations. It could be everything. It depends on, you should always know how you and your team can pay their rent. This is the most important thing. Because why? From the meditation side, you talk about survival mode, and it's the same when you have a business. If you are always in a survival mode, then you can't get so creative. And perhaps you get it, but it costs you a lot of energy. So the most important thing is always to get you out from the survival mode, also in your mind, but then also financially, on the financial stuff. But then I know a lot of founders that say, yeah, then I just get an investor because there's so much investment money outside, and that's it. That's like my paradise. And then I always work together with them and show them this is a very emotional journey you do, because you started with a business and it's perhaps your passion, your child, your everything, your baby. And then someone else is coming and saying, show me your numbers. Perhaps they're convincing, perhaps not. But the moment where they say, we will be part of your business, you have to give something up. And this is sometimes very hard for founders to understand first their own value. What am I bringing? Because it's not just the investor who's bringing something to you. You are bringing something to him too, a good investment, perhaps a good purpose, a good impact, whatever it is. So you have to talk with him on one eye level, and not like this, like, I need money from you, please give it. It's more like, I offer you also something. This is one thing. And the other thing is really to understand, perhaps it's better to go to a bank and get a loan and you are on your own. Sometimes it's better to go to an investor and take money from him. And then are you going to a single investor or are you going to a group of investors? So this is also a difference. But one rule in startup is always, it's better to own 1% of Shell than 100% of an own petrol station. So sometimes it's better to give more and more from your part of the company to others so they can help you grow. But for all this, and this is also something where I feel the first years are so important in a startup, because usually many investors want an exit. So they want a growth and they want a fast growth. But the thing is, can you go with that? Can you open your team and make a large team that is working together? Are you the person who can do that? And I think everybody should be really aware of it, which kind of speed they can offer. And then you will also find the right investors to you. But don't lie to yourself, and then you don't lie to the others.
And in our preliminary conversation, you said very strong statement that you have to be ready to give up part of your heart.
You really have to make yourself naked in front of an investor. He really wants all the numbers, he wants everything, understand you as a team. The investor always looks for the business opportunity and for the team. This is the first things. When that is convincing, then they go into the numbers and then they really turn them around. So you really have to understand your own numbers. And I know a lot of founders that say, oh, it's important and it's okay what the tax accountant gives me. No, it's not. This is it's like rich people always take care of their money. So be rich in your business, okay? Like in your mindset, be a rich person. You have to know your numbers really, really well. What I like is when I'm consulting founders, for me, the biggest compliment I have is when they say, now I love my numbers. I hated them and now I love them, because then I feel like, yeah, because now you're getting control over your business. And perhaps you get control over your life. So one of the books that changed my perspective of that is Rich Dad Poor Dad from Robert Kiyosaki.
What is the secret to fall in love with your numbers? When we think about our idea, it's very emotional. It's about passion. It's something that we strongly believe in. But this is one side of it. And then the figures come a little bit cold. And this financing topic is a little bit putting off the whole energy.
I think the most important thing is don't take it personal. Don't take it personal. If you look into the true numbers of your life, not just of your business life, but of your personal life, and you look really truly in that, and then you see that it's a bad situation, then don't take it too personal, because yes, you're allowed to get into the situation, but you can change it. But you just can change things when you see them.
So when preparing the perfect elevator pitch, which practical steps and elements a founder should take into account?
Always think of yourself. What is the words, the phrases that you are willing to listen? And I see that a lot of people are always focusing on what I am giving, but it's more like, what do I solve? So it's about you, the other person. It's not so much about me in that moment. And this is important to really twist it. And elevator pitch, for me, it's always very time consuming. It's very emotional. It's I do a lot of presentations before to shorten it. And it's also training, always like saying to yourself, because the moment where you have the possibility to do it in front of an investor, you don't want to struggle like, you want to do it fluidly. And the best practice is practicing on their own, so your unconscious knows what to say, although you don't know that. I think always ask yourself, do I solve a problem? Yes. Go out and ask people if they feel that you're solving a problem. Usually people see a problem and then they have a solution. And then they feel like, this is a so good solution. And my business plan, everything says it's such a good solution. And I say, this is the biggest trap you can fall into if you love your solution more than the problem. Why? Because then you become arrogant. Then you think that this is the solution that really helps people. But then you feel perhaps on your way, investing money and time, that it's not working. And why? Because you saw the problem and you didn't talk enough with the people that are in this problem or have this problem. And you took one step and you developed this, and you invested a lot of money and time in it. And then you push it harder. But when you go back and do your homework well, if you say, okay, it can be every topic. It can be something like people in the cities don't have enough green, enough nature, for example. This could be a problem. Okay. And then you say, yeah, the solution is we're planting more trees. Okay, fine, could be. But it could be also we are coloring the buildings green, because it's also giving you the same psychological result, I don't know. Or it could be we give the people more plants in their house. So what I wanted to say is, the moment you go into the problem, then you have a bunch of possibilities to develop. But if you focus on your solution, then you go into one direction and that's it. And so please love the problem more than your solution. Be aware of it, that it can be that you take your solution, throw it into the bin and rethink it. It takes so much more to realize an idea, to make it happen, than just having it. Like it's really like there are a bunch of ideas. It's not that not everything is thought through. If you look globally, in India, in America, in Africa, people are very creative and innovative. They really have a lot of good ideas. But it's more about, do you have the breath, the energy, the team, the money, the time, the possibilities, the opportunities? So it's more the way you do, it's the discipline. You continue this. And in one of my biggest tasks when I talk to founders, helping them not to think too big at the beginning. Like I know a lot of, they say, oh, I saved 40,000 euros and I would like to code an app, give it to an agency and they code the app. And then I say, but are you sure that your solution will get some clients? Yeah, I'm absolutely sure. My friend said yes. And then I say, okay, try it differently. Perhaps you make a Facebook group at the beginning and look if someone feel attracted from your idea that you have, like start with less investments in time and money. Why? Because usually experience shows you have to change it again and again. And if you invested all you have in one solution from the beginning, then perhaps you don't have enough money or energy afterwards. So I always see how founders love their ideas, and that's great. And my task is always to bring them a little back and protect them from their own passion a little bit and say, rethink if you can do it, but if you can start it on another level with something that gives you more proof of concept than making this whole bunch of work and then see that it doesn't work. Perhaps it will work, but then this proof of concept will also help you always finding investors, because you can always say, look, I have already 1,000 fans, I have 3 clients, I don't know, whatever. But it helps you and it helps yourself to get on the right track for your idea. Thank you very much, Raya. You know that I love people that go in action and don't stay too much in their theoretical mind. So it's so great, the project you started.
Yeah, and I really believe that if it's just one-man show and only one person promoting it, it's not good enough. But if we create a community and a tribe around it, and these future founders see that each and every person is having potential and is having something to bring to the table, then maybe they will be also bothered to ask around, to ask their friends, to ask their family, to create this Facebook group, or to see how they can validate their thinking. Because it is scary in the beginning, but also it's not such a big deal. Because what is the worst thing that can happen? We can fail, all right.
Absolutely, and this is what I wanted to add. It's like failing is just learning. It's nothing more. So it has, this is what I mean. It has so much to do with your personal development that you dare to go out with something. And then, yeah, people perhaps will say, this is bad, or what is that? You're stupid. Yeah, leave them. This is also something, perhaps you have to change your environment to get popular, to get successful, you know? It's more like you have nothing to lose. You can just win. Experiences or success, or both.
And I really would like to encourage everyone to follow you and to learn more about your initiative, about the future of Germany and all your topics regarding food waste. There is so much to learn and so many small steps that each and everyone can take. And it's not a problem far away from us in Africa or in another continent. It's probably our neighbor, it's next door, it's the rubbish bin in front of us, or the food waste in the small shop nearby. So we can all take a small step into the solution.
Absolutely. Thank you, Raya.